audio. We've got audio, that's great. And now we may begin. Very well. Shabbat Shalom, my most esteemed friends, honorable judges, LVE tribe, as well as everyone else accompanying us. On this rather precious, heated day of Shabbat, from California, the US of A, today being Shabbat, the 18th of Savan, of the year 5994 from creation. This corresponds to the 14th of June of the year 2025, in which we shall study yet another chapter of the Spirit of the Feast, part 35. We are in a day that is very chaotic here in the U.S. We'll speak just a little bit about it, but before that, let us begin with a word of prayer. Our Father that art in heaven, we give you thanks for this so precious day of Shabbat. We give you thanks because you still give us life. We actually wish that you fulfilled your prophecy and that all this in prophecies come to an end and that everyone can live in peace without the cover of lies. We ask you for all this in your name, Yahweh Sabaoth. Hallelujah. Yahweh has given another year of life to the following members of the Eternal Truth: Cadmiel Esparza, our translator, Mexico; Josue Espinal, the Dominican Republic; Marco Antonio, Peru; Angelica Rubio, Spain; Jenny Lopez, Mexico; Andy Eliseo Lopez Perez, the U.S.; Arnaldo Lopez Mateo, Guatemala; Josleida Tejeda, Venezuela; Alfredo Paisa, El Salvador; Jairo Lopez de la Cruz, Guatemala; and Felicita de la Cruz, Mexico. To each and every one of you, a great big hug, a very happy birthday. Good thing that we are still together in this, holding the line to see what happens with the story of this world. We have had a very beautiful Shavuot. The Shavuot bread has been spectacular, enormous for us. We ended up eating that bread for days on end, and we ended up eating it for days. We even made pizzas with that, a spectacular thick pizza. Tell the truth, I think that I went up like about 10 pounds. It was lots of bread. It was day, evening, and night bread, and we had to continue to eat it. It was very delicious. It's the best bread up until now of what we have achieved to do. So then we've had Shavuot, a very happy time. The next month coming up is for Tisha B'Av, in other words, give or take for the 9th of the 5th month of Av, which becomes our birthday. That is the next festivity coming up, which is going to be in very soon. So then pay attention that the birthday is coming up quickly, and we are needing, since you want some ideas for gifts, the new Boca jersey, spectacular, very beautiful, spectacular. So then if you needed some ideas, just cheap ones, original ones, not those fake ones from China, okay, the spectacular ones. And we're gonna use it this Monday when we play. I have high hopes, let's say faith, that we're gonna play a good role, but who knows? I like Miguelo there. Let's see what happens. It's been a long time since there's no football, and so it's already there's nothing else to do here aside from working. I mean, something with everything that happens here. I mean, that's the way it is. Remember, well, it begins today, the first worldwide championship of clubs. Messi's club is going to play against a team from Egypt that they call it the Egyptian Boca. I think they call it the I can't remember. Lava. It means the national in the Arab language, and that they've got it's very much like the story and all the rest and things that Boca has. So then they say that it's going to be interesting. But well, we'll see. But let us begin with our subject. Shema Israel, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Ekhad. Hear, O Israel, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh is one. With everything that it means, what it means for Israel, and what it'll mean afterwards. I'd like to thank for our gifts. This is from Nila that sent us a whole bunch of quiñapés from different types. Some arrived kind of broken, but there they are. These are rice ones. We have some corn ones and my most absolute favorite ones, which are the ones of the mandioca green or yuca, however you want to call it. These are my most favorite. Spectacular. It has arrived. Many thanks, Nilla. Spectacular. And also one of you, I don't know who, please write in the chat. I suspect, but I don't know who it was, gifted us Walter White from the series Breaking Bad. The series Breaking Bad, it's not that I'm recommending it, but it's a series of a guy that they declare that he's got a crab, but he didn't have money. He had to get a second mortgage. So then the guy, since he's a genius, he said, I'm going to pay it in a different way. So then he makes a crystal, which is a drug, and makes it in such a quality that's never seen before. And so then the guy, since he has intelligence, he goes up in ranks and becomes more and more powerful, and it becomes an empire. And we've got him right here, Mr. Heisenberg, Walter White. You might ask, what does this have to do with the eternal truth? Well, I don't know what. But it was a gift, and it's here, and it's in a protesting, and that's why we've got Walter White here to be resurrected. And says, yes, I know that I made a mistake, a big mistake. I made bad decisions, Breaking Bad. Very bad decisions. Now I understand that I should not have made any of the chemicals from the medical ones from dirty businesses. But Walter White wants to be redeemed. That's why he's here in a protest, wants to be resurrected. He's like, we're like, you want to be a Messiah? He says, yes, yes, absolutely, yes. You want to be resurrected? Yes. But are you going to change? Are you going to want to sell your merch? No, not at all. Not at all. I want to change. Well, that's why he's here. Walter White is here. He's a hero that is in the grave and wants to be resurrected. Okay, here we've got him. It's a very nicely made, this miniature. The face is identical, impressively so. And the guy works so well. I mean, wow. Tremendous series. It really keeps you glued to the screen. Sometimes it's slow, exasperatingly slow, but it keeps you there. What will he do? Wow, I mean, it's tremendous series. Tremendous. I didn't just watch that, then I also watched the one about the lawyer, which was another one that was not a Jew, but he changed his name as a Jew. Just because with a Jewish name, I'll have more success, so he made himself be called Saul Goodman. That wasn't his real name, but he changed his name to a Jewish one so that it would have a better impact because they're successful. So then another one that changed his name from an American one to a Jewish one. And then the story continues with Saul Goodman separately already. I mean, it's wow. It's a series that really lasted for a long time. I'm not recommending it. I'm not telling you to go watch it, that you're going to earn anything good. But here we have Walter White present. Anyway, we've got a problem, but let us begin with Proverbs 25:2. It is the glory of Elohim to conceal the word, yet the honor or the glory of the king to search out the word. Elohim, the honor that he's got or the glory that he says, which is part of the creation. It's all part of creation. You always have to see it way past what it is to conceal the justice, truth. God is concealed. All things are concealed. All this has the goal and the design. Don't ask me because I'm not the designer. It's all the different, with different names, the Son of God, Son of Yahweh, the Lamb, and all the rest of the names of justice that they want to use, because there are way too many. types of adjectives or nicknames, which will open the cover, will allow for the true justice to shine and to be integrated into humanity. Right now, it's a whole disaster, an absolute disaster. Since we live in a disaster, only lies. We read Jeremiah 19:21, Yahweh, it's referring to this Messiah or the new government. My strength and my fortress, my refuge in the day of tribulation, which it would seem that we're going into a great tribulation right now. And to these shall come all the peoples, all of them, from the ends of the earth, and shall say, only lies was the inheritance of our fathers, vanity to which there is no avail. If it is men that makes themselves gods, then they're not gods. It is very clear. There's no justice here, there's no truth, there's no reason, there's nothing in this life. It's all covered, hidden, southern. That's why we've got Walter White here asking for justice. Asking for justice. Malachi 2:17 says, Ye have wearied Yahweh with your words, and ye say, in what have we wearied him? In that ye say that whomever doeth evil pleaseth Yahweh, and in such he delighteth. Or else, where is the Elohim of justice? Absolutely, it is true. Yahweh, in this system of creation, he planned it from the very beginning. He has blessed evil. Oh, Claudia and Stephen, I was very wrong. Claudia and Stephen sent us many thanks. Claudia and Stephen. Here we've got Walter White on behalf of Claudia and Stephen. They're Colombian, but they live in Spain. And I can imagine that they watch the series, or else they would not know Mr. Heisenberg, Walter White, very well. As I was saying, it's all a plan of Yahweh's to give power to the wicked, because he was interested for us to be born, okay, and for us to grow up in the contamination. That is the idea of the creation. It is part of it. I can give you 10,000 of them, but they're not justifiable under our point of view. So then, that is what creation is. It is take it or leave it. Not even leave it. That's the way it is, period. That's the way it is. We're not the creators. We are part of the creation, but part of the creation is that at the end of all this disaster, God the Creator, in the same way that he created that barrier that covered that wickedness for everyone, he was also going to create a solution, and the solution would be to give life to everyone. So then that is what creation is in this world we live in, and that's why it's all disaster. But we're still protesting, where is the Elohim of justice? When will you give power to the Elohim of justice? What happens here in California and in the rest of the U.S. Well, today is a very special day. Today it's been declared, it's been a while, that there would be protests and violence in the whole country, throughout the whole country, because they would declare a movement of protest called No More King, No More King. That no more king, we know we haven't got a king, but what it means is that no more tyrants, no more unrighteous people to rule us. That's what it means. And so they're going to protest against the government of our president, which you already know, Mr. Trumpet. I don't want this video to be blocked, so then our great president, Donald, has a birthday today. So then many things are going on today, the Shabbat, aside from this study. There's a very great movement against, called No More King. The king is having a birthday, and it's also the day of the flag here in the U.S., where the king said, I wish I had a parade like in China, where all the tanks and the missiles, they said, no, Mr. President, one of those tanks weighs between 8 and 12 tons. If we make it go through the streets, we're going to damage them. They're going to be marked and damaged. And so they said, well, what if some would go up on just some Jeeps or something? And they said, well, that might work. I don't know what our president got such a idea of greatness to do a parade like China because of the flag and all the rest, and also it's because it's his birthday. It's as if the level of insanity is growing here in everybody. And how old is our great president becoming today? 79 years old. We're already at the end of what the Bible says, 70 and 80. But the guy is very lucid. He looks very well. He looks very good. He has lots of problems. What problems are there? Well, there are problems. Big ones. I'll give my opinion. I'll give my opinion in the best way possible so that you understand, so that in something this can be comprehended. You may have a different opinion. There are many people listening to me that don't see what I say as justice, and they see it differently. Like everything that's happened, everything that I've said, they don't see the justice that they understand as justice. So then the justice is something that's also that it depends on from what angle you're looking at it from, because there's always going to be justice. A group is going to say that's injustice, and another group is going to say that's justice, and it'll never be equalized. The thing is, what is the real justice? Okay, maybe out of everything you've ever heard or you think, my words could shock you. Maybe, maybe not. I also don't want to offend anyone or anything of the sort, but here there's a great problem in the U.S., and now it's been made manifest, or they pushed it so that it's greater and it blows up. It is the illegal immigration. What is illegal immigration? Illegal immigration is when people, and especially groups of people, cross the border, entering in an illegal way into a country. I'll speak to you of what I consider to be justice. Maybe I've got a lot more things to take into account. Maybe I have to have a lot more experience in the case, but what I'm about to say is what there is in my heart. Personally, I will place this space. Personally, I cannot be in a place where I'm not authorized to be. That's me. That's me, though. That doesn't happen to everyone, maybe just a few people, but I feel very uncomfortable when I'm in a place where I know that I shouldn't be. It's something way within me. It's part of my matter of how I was built. I think we've all been built different. So then, I would never have come illegally to this country. Never. It took a lot of work for me to come here in a legal way. Leslie, being born here in the U.S., it took her almost 2 years to convince me to come. For me, it was a barrier that was too big to go from Argentina to the U.S. and to top it off in a legal way. Because I went to the embassy, the U.S. embassy. I've already told you the story. There was a line that was 4 blocks long, and I stood there at the end, and Leslie was like, "What are you doing? Come here with me." And she took me there from the line. We got up to the door, to the first one that saw us there. Hey, go into the back of the line. She took out her American passport, and the guy said, come in. So then when we went in without making a line into the U.S. Embassy. We already came in with special privileges. I applied, and immediately, very quickly, I'm not going to say immediately, very quickly, they gave me the green card, which is the permit to work in residency. They gave it to me being in Argentina still. So then in Argentina, I already had papers to come here. That no, it was difficult for me to come. That no, it was difficult for me to come, but I came. That no, I came. And being here with time, I applied for citizenship and they gave it to me. So then I'm an American citizen, also Argentinian. First of all, Argentinian because I was born there. I have all of my culture is Argentinian, but I absorbed a lot of the US because when you emigrate, you start to absorb, which is called a union, an absorption of cultures. Okay, that's my story. Leslie's parents, they're both Argentinian. In Argentina, in those times, I think they came here around 68 or 67 before Leslie was born. 69. They applied at the embassy and they gave them permits because they needed people to work, but not just any person. You had to have a profession, and with that profession, the US would open the doors, they'd give you a work visa, they would help you. They would even offer you all types of work under your profession because they needed, and it was beneficious for the country. So both parents of Leslie, they came legally to the US. In the US, they were established perfectly well. They worked in whatever they wanted. They progressed very well economically. Leslie was born. Also, her sister, and then the parents later with their differences. Well, there weren't that many differences. It was the religion, rather. With the religion, they decided to be separated, or the mother, or whatever. They get separated. They came back to Argentina. So Leslie was brought up in Argentina, but she's a U.S. citizen. She doesn't even have an Argentinian citizenship. She doesn't. Americans are very zealous. If Leslie decided to become an Argentinian citizen, she would annul her American one. They annul it. No matter if you were born here, they would annul it. So then, under that point of view, it wasn't worth it at all to lose the American one, not in the very least. In Argentina, we met, and we were married for 2 years and a little bit more, and 2 years into it, I came here. That took place in the year 1993, so then I've been 32 years here in this country, and I can speak about my stay here in this country with the authority of at least 32 years. What I saw in 32 years, not what I was told, not the newscast, what I've seen in this country in the year 1993 when I came here. It was a country that was spectacular, just like that, spectacular. In every sense of the word. I could apply in a work, they would give me that job. I didn't want one, I would apply in another one, and they said, when would you come back here? I had to leave the other one. The houses with the minimum wage, $4.25 an hour, I could, with Leslie, could rent an apartment. Both of us working, and not even full time, all the hours, some hours. Even till I dared to have a job because I didn't speak English, because they convinced me. Leslie started to work, and she was the breadwinner, earning minimum wage without any profession at all, without any title, which would give her a lot more money. Just minimum wage that we're speaking about. With the minimum wage, we would rent an apartment. Then we bought a car, because I brought some money from Argentina. We bought a car. I dedicated myself to buy cars. I like that. I'd like to buy cars, fix them up a bit, and flip them. And I would make some money on that. Then I got a job, not because there wasn't, it's because I didn't want to work, because I was terrified of English. Like I told you, that is the very same system like everyone. I don't feel like I don't belong in a place. I mean, it's a no for me. It's a no for me. I can't. It immobilizes me to know that I don't belong there. But it's all the contrary when I know that I do belong. When I know that I have the right to be there, I belong there. I become the greatest defender of anything because I have a right. When I don't have a right, I'm annulled. But when I feel like I have the right because I have it, I'm a terrible lion, an absolute lion. It's all the contrary. English was something holding me back, because to top it off, the way that I am, they would speak to me in English, and it was basic Chinese. They would be blah, 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 and I wouldn't understand the thing. I was terrified. Not even. I was embarrassed to be in a place where what they spoke to me about I couldn't understand. So then I was terrified because to top it off, they would speak to me. I looked not like an immigrant. I looked like a person that he was either born here or European. They didn't treat me. They wouldn't speak to me in Spanish directly. They, to top it off, those that spoke Spanish would speak to me in English because they thought that I spoke English. Because the thing is, the way you look here, as in everywhere in the world, the way you look is the way the people will treat you. There's no turn of the page. That's the way it is. Absolutely, that's the way it is. So then the people were very kind with me, but for me, about being kind or not, for me, it was all aggression. They would speak to me in English, and it's as if they were insulting me. All I wanted to do is just run to a different place. They convinced me, they took me, and they placed me in a supermarket where the manager was a blonde manager, as well as the assistant managers. They were all white. And the cashiers and some there were Latin people. Manager would come and say blah 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 blah. And I would look at the cashier and she says to go get the carts. So then I would go get the carts. To top it off that I would not even understood anything of English. The problem that I had of not belonging to a group was greater, and it would close my ear and I wouldn't understand a thing. I had a customer that would come and say, "Where's sugar in English, right?" And I would say, "What? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know." And I would say, that way, just anywhere. For me, it was too depressive to live here. But in turn, Leslie put me in English school, which is free here. I tried ESL, English as a Second Language, ESL. They've got all the levels from 0 to 0, and you advance for free. That helped me a whole lot. That's where my ear softened to English, and then Leslie told me, don't watch anything in Spanish, and start to watch everything in English. And I would try to watch everything in English for my ear to soften. The radio, I would listen to it in English. And that is how a whole world was open to me that was very closed. Little by little, we started to adapt. The world was beautiful because I was married with a great woman, magnificent, phenomenal. And so then we started to grow and grow and grow. Oh no. And the money was even enough, earning minimum, remember, earning minimum was not just to pay for the rent, but to pay for the gas and to pay for all of the services. It was enough to travel also. So then, and we went to Las Vegas, and we went to many places here in the U.S. Traveling, we would go to Walt Disney, Magic Mountain. It is a place where it's all the rides that we would go. We had a membership, the yearly membership, also Universal Studios. And with Leslie, we had a super hyper, extremely great time. Very close to Los Angeles and San Pedro, which was a precious zone, precious zone. And then we moved. We wanted to have something better, and we said, well, it's convenient because I had a job that I liked. It was to paint, which I liked. And we came this way to the side of the valley of the desert of Loma Linda, and next to Loma Linda. And there I had some friends, and so then life started to get better and better and better. Then later, with time, we bought the first house, and that is where Angelina was born. And with that, times got way better, and we bought this house where we live. Oh no, my English became completely better. I'm not an expert speaking English, but I understand what people say, and I can read it very well, perfectly well. The pronunciation, I mean, it doesn't matter. People understand me because I speak to them with a very special accent. They always confuse me. Where are you from? Are you Italian? Where are you from? But I lost that fear. I lost that fear. And so then we bought this house. We bought this house in the year 2003, which was the year in which Brian was born. So Angelina was born in her first house, and Brian literally was born in the moment in which we were buying this house. And it went really well. Always, things have gone well to me. I don't like to speak about it, but maybe I'll talk about it later, maybe in the next subject. But I was very well blessed by Elohim always. There's nothing of what to feel proud of. I'll explain it later, but everything that I did, I always had well. Always, ever since I was little. My mom would say, "You're so hard. You're like the cats. Wherever I throw you, you just fall on your feet. Always, always." No, with this guy, you can go anywhere because wherever he falls on his feet. That was one of my characteristics. Okay. Why am I telling you all this? Because the world that I see here in California has changed drastically. Absolutely. The freeways, when I would come from Los Angeles to this place, I would come and it was empty. A car here and there, but when everyone would come from work, there was a lot more traffic, but it was always empty. And when I was go there, it was empty. Sometimes at 4 p.m. I would go and I would even fall asleep because I would work a lot. I would fall asleep. I didn't want to sleep because it was empty in the freeway. Nobody told me that. I lived it. I lived it. Okay? The insurance of the car, it was so cheap. All the things that I could tell you, they were spectacular and earning minimum wage, mind you. Always earning minimum wage. Later they would augment a little bit more, but still the basic labor minimum wage until I start to work on my own, right? Where I jump to a different level, a much more higher level, okay? The California we see today is very different. No young man earning minimum wage is enough to even rent one house and live there. It's not enough. It's not enough. Both of them have to work. They have to work maybe in 2 jobs to be able to pay for the house. The rent is what I'm saying, the rent. Not to buy a house, I mean, forget it. You need at least from $30,000 to $50,000 or $100,000 as a down payment, or else you have to pay for $5,000, $6,000 a month. So then the rent to pay for it is difficult. Very difficult. Everything is reduced a lot. Your buying power is reduced a lot. Why did that happen? Because there's a lot more people, a lot less opportunities of work, and the level of California has gone down drastically. When I moved to this neighborhood, there was an American here, American here, American there, American there. Now there's no one there. An American leaves, like I always say, and a Latin person comes in, moves in. This, I don't want for anyone to get offended because I'm also Latin. But an effect has taken place in California since the level of life was way more higher than in our countries, way more higher. An effect happens. Many want to come to the promised land, or they wanted to come to the promised land. So then they would come to the promised land where they thought that there was a lot more opportunities of work and of growth, which was true. But they come not the best qualifiers. No, of course not. Who come here? Those who have are not well off in their own origin of country, whichever it might be. They have a bad time over there. So then, the ones that come is the most poor part of the population come, which in turn poverty is not synonym of lower education. That's how I'll call it. Low education, low values. Places where very bad. Their origins. They don't have standards, and filled with bad habits. It's not that it's all doctors, scientists, and lawyers, professors, and they all invade us. No, no, no. That's not who invade us. It's people, the most humble type there are, and I'll make it humble equal to poverty, but poverty also in values of things, of virtues, of many things. With lots of wanting to work a lot, yes. With wanting to progress, yes. But low education to know how to progress, what to do, what to avoid, what not to do. Under the government of Trump, first of all, in all of his government, there was a fight because he wanted, and I'm saying, I don't know if it's true or not. I'm telling you what comes out that supposedly is true. If it's true or not, I'm not saying this was like this. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying something else. I'm saying that it's what people say, or what at least you would say, that would seem to be is what they were saying. Trump wanted to make a wall so that a whole river of illegal immigrants would come in, and the Democrats wanted for there not to be a wall. And that fight was terrible. They do this, they do that. I mean, all kinds of things. When Trump left, during the Biden's government, it is calculated that an average between 8,000 and 12,000 people were entering daily because the government wouldn't do anything to stop them. And it's almost it was like an incentive to come in. I can't say that it was an actual incentive, but it's as if they would just leave the door open and be like, oh, if they want to enter, let them enter. Under Biden's rule, approximately it was 3.5 and 5 million illegal people entered into the U.S. Under that flow of people, it's not just people that want to work. It's a lot of people that are being sought after by the law in their countries, so they leave the country. Others with very bad intentions sent by governments. But here, there is a political problem here, because why did they let them enter? One thing is that they filter themselves normally, that they enter, but they filter themselves and they are assimilated in the culture. Something else is that one thing is to have like a drop of water coming into your house and there's no problem, but if it floods your house, then that's a problem. So in 4 years, it is calculated that it was between 4 and 5 million people entered illegally, especially to California. Because California, with the Democrat government, it became a sanctuary to all who wanted to come. Texas has that problem in Florida and all the rest, but especially California. The thing is that, where do those people live? Because the infrastructure of the country was not ready for those people to live here. Where do they live? I'll tell you where they live. They live with people in houses where those houses are designed to live one family, and it's 3-4 families living there. So then you see that in a house in Los Angeles or wherever, where there was always 1 or 2 cars, now we have 10 cars per house, because you have 10 people working there in that house. Because those people live somewhere. It's not that they live in the streets. Yes, of course. We saw tents. Haven't you seen tents like always? White people living in their cars like you've never seen. They buy a little, like an RV or a van, and they live there because they cannot pay for the rent. Don't think that the U.S., we are in a fabulous economical situation. Not in the very least. There is misery, poverty, and lots of need. Here in California, it's not what you think, it's not what you see, maybe. Maybe it's not what we're going through, but people are going through that. People are going through that. What is the solution of all this. ICE, in other words, Trump came up and now he says, let's start to cleanse. 5 million people entered, aside from all those that entered regularly, 5 more million people than those that always entered. What are we going to do with these people? Because the economy, now you can almost not get a job. They don't want to take you in because there's a lot of employment applications. The houses are so expensive. Why are they so expensive? The houses, for what reason? So that they have an idea, just so you get an idea. The first house that I bought in Rialto, where Angelina was born, I paid for it $78,000 in payments. That's what it was worth, $78,000. Now, that very house, it's been only 23 years. That house is worth $450,000. And you say, wait, hold on, it's a country where there's no inflation. It's where there's the least inflation in the rest of the world. How can a house go from $80,000 to $450,000? Almost $500,000. There is no way of reasoning this. And that house was give or take, because I could buy a house next to Victor's house for $50,000, even less. Now Victor's house is $400,000. For what reason? Because since there is an overpopulation in this place and they haven't gone anywhere else, every house that is there is bought. And when you put a house for sale and it's bought, it means that it's very cheap. Because when there are lots of houses for sale and you have 20 houses to choose from, then since they're not being sold, the price goes down. But when you have a house here and a house there and a house there, and the houses are lacking, there's not enough, and the prices go up, 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 up. So then before, I would always go by my neighborhood, and they were always for sale, and you can go and see the for sale houses. Now, you don't see any. I travel all through all my neighborhood, and I don't see any houses for sale. Why? Because there is no houses for sale. And if there are, then they're so expensive. Because eventually they'll sell them. That is the product that there's a lot of buyers in little houses, right? The dream of California is over. Before, I used to go to anywhere to buy, and there was half white people and half Latinos. And now there's half, no, not half, 99% Latin people. I went to the bank with Angelina yesterday, and we were waiting inside, and Angelina says, it's called Bank of America. That there should be more Americans than anything. Everything inside, while we were waiting, everything was in Spanish. Angelina was like, everything's in Spanish. Yeah, everything's in Spanish. What if you're a white American sitting there, and you want to buy a house? Well, buy it, because Bank of America is here to help you. And just imagine you're white like that, and you look down, and you're like, where the fuck am I? Where the fuck am I? Is this my country, or where the fuck is this? Just so the Mexicans understand this, there should be an invasion of Chinese, and to take a neighborhood after neighborhood, and you enter into any store you'd go before, and everybody's speaking Chinese. You'd be like, what the fuck is going on? And then you go outside, and they put a Chinese flag outside, and they grab a Mexican flag and they burn it in front of you to see what you would think. What you would think, because you always get on the side of the poor person. They have a right to live. They have a right to go in. They have a right to work. If we talk about humanity, we have rights. If we talk about on the side of humanity, like human beings, everybody has rights. Everybody has needs. But when we talk about countries, independent one from another, with different national symbols, different cultures, different languages. The country, if you want to live there, you have to respect it. When a country is invaded and the country is not in agreement that you enter, then you are illegal because you don't have paperwork. You don't have a right to be there. But when you've entered there and you have established there, sometimes you had children, and then later the problem becomes a bit worse. Because what do you do with those people that have entered into an illegal way? I want to highlight this a lot, about the illegality, because then they ask for justice. I want you, for all the ones listening to me, understand my words. There's no justice when they start with illegality. There's no justice. No, justice does not exist. Justice does not exist when an illegal act started. When a thief enters into a house and the owner kills him, then they say, "Oh, poor guy, poor guy. He should not have killed him." In the moment in which one does an illegal act, he has no defense whatsoever, because consciously you know that you're in a place where you should not be. And period. In order to understand what justice is, we have to start to understand what injustice is also, because if we have justice, we have injustice. So then sometimes humans, we start on the side of injustice, and that if you want to be an Elohim of justice, you have to understand that clearly. There's no sentimentalism here. There's no emotions here. There's no emotion here. Either something is just or not, period. You have to look for the turn of the page, because otherwise we start to look under justice and injustice. One is white, and the justice, and the black one for the justice, we start to justify and justify. We get to a gray area that you'll never find what is just and what's not, period. From the moment in which a person enters illegally into a country, they have the right to be kicked out immediately, just like any person that were to enter into my house and I didn't welcome them. And they have the right to be kicked out, first in a good way and then violently later, because they're entering into my territory. There's no excuse whatsoever that I have more money. There's no excuse that I have a place to live. There's no excuse that I have a house or a bed or even a house in the bottom of my yard back then, and says you have a house that nobody's using. I want to live there because I don't have where to live. I have children. So then since you don't let me enter, I asked you and you don't let me enter, I'm going to jump at night and I'll invade your house. So then all the defenders of the illegals will come and say, what are they going to say? "Oh, poor guy, let him live in his property." So then, and I get upset and I kick them all out, and I kick them out. And then children were born to top it off. And I kicked them all out, and I said, "Look, you cannot live here. You're not welcome here. You entered illegally to my property, and I want you here, but you have a house and a dog or 3 cats and 3 dogs. Yeah, that's right, because I want to have them. And you can't also feed us." No, just like that. No. I don't want for you to live in my property unless I invite you to. If I were to invite you, you'll be this much time. Either this much time you can stay that I want. Let's see if you understand. Because if you don't understand the concept of justice, and I sometimes worry a lot. I worry a lot because I see that humans are moved by emotions. And that is not how we're going to get anywhere. The masses are moved not by logic, but by emotions. By emotions. What justice is, and even more, since the masses are more on the poor side, when they move their sentiments of poverty or equality with the rich, one gets on the side of the weak. That is something that Yahweh gave us. They get on the side of the weak. So then poor people, they have rights. I want to make this very clear. There is no illegal in any country in the world that has a right at all. I want to make that very clear. There's no sentiment here, poor things, and the fucking bitch that bore you. There isn't. There is no legality in a space or country that They have a right whatsoever. They have no right whatsoever. Let's start with that. And if the top bent off, those who invaded my house, he puts up a signal that is contrary to mine. They put their music on. They grab one of my signals. Just so you understand this. Just so you understand. They burn the Boca flag and they put Rivers flag in my house. In my house. They say, here, I'm going to plant the River Plate flag. What do you think is justice? For me to tell them, okay, I'm going to give you a little bit there and give you that land for you. What am I going to do? I had that land there, but now I'm going to make a line there and I'm going to say, now I'm going to give you that part. What's your name? What's your name? Yeah, here you have it. It's all going to be in your name, and from here on out, you're happy. You would say, oh, how great. No, that's not justice. That is injustice to the fullest. To the fullest. Injustice, absolute injustice. If you don't understand my words, you cannot ever direct the world. You could never, ever direct the world. Either you are in tune with what I say, or you cannot direct anything, because you're going to direct according to your emotions. Poor guy. There's no poor thing or victims. There is illegality and legality. When in a country they don't let you enter, you should just not enter, period. You know, some of you know, because they have asked me, and many have asked me, Christian, I want to go to the U.S. Can I go? And my answer has always been no. Do you have paperwork? No. No, then don't come. Don't come. Just like that, don't come. Are you going to come here illegally? Don't come. Just like that, don't come, period. Can you help me? Even less. To help you, for you to be here illegally, even less than less. I'm going to give an advice for all the youth and the great ones that have not made this mistake. Take this advice. When you have your own house, and some family member comes, I won't say anyone, and I'll even add friends, family and friends, and that they're in need, because always human desperateness is what causes the great problems and equivocations, and they're in trouble for whatever situation. They say, look, I have to live sometime here in your house. I'm going to give you this advice and record it if you want to get ahead in life. If you don't want to get ahead, then don't even listen to me. It's an astounding no. No one enters my house. No one comes to live here a little bit. One thing is to have a vacation, or if I were to invite them. But to live because they don't have anywhere to live, that is no. Just like that, an astounding no. Who teaches you these things? Nobody, because you won't want to find. No, I didn't act like that. The disciples didn't act like that. It's a no. You cannot come live at my house because you would be illegal. You cannot live here. Those who live in my house is those born in my house. No one else. Those born citizens in my house live in my house. And you might say, oh, you have no heart. And I would say, if you said that, stop listening to me. Then leave. I don't need you. Tell the truth, I don't need you. I don't need you. You're no good to rule anything. You're no good to rule, and even less, the territory that Yahweh wants to give you. You're no good. Just like that, directly, you're no good. You are directed by emotions, your heart, your culture, your conduct, and the lies inherited of your parents. You're no good for the eternal truth. Directly like that. And I'm trying to be soft here, mind you. In other words, soft. Soft. Because justice is something that you have to understand clearly. Either black or white, period. That's it. Black or white. And you cannot have a gray, because if we have a gray, then we live in Babylon. So we end up looking for a fifth paw in the cat, or looking for a piece of hair in the egg, and we try to justify, saying, no, because of you this and that, and we enter into the gray area and in full just injustice, because if it's justice, it's justice, and everything that comes with any other color that is not white. Just making an example, what is the true justice? It's injustice. It could be a grade of injustice, or 10 grades of injustice, or 100% injustice, but it's injustice. And when we start to embrace injustice, we stop seeing injustice and we embrace emotion, the sentiments, what our little heart says. So then, what I'm teaching you today, when you have your own house, no one enters. Family members, no. Friends to live, no. Your wife, your husband, your children, no one else. And if somebody has a need, you go and you rent a hotel. You don't have money? Then you can't help. Ask for a loan. That would be even better. No, it's 1,000 times better than to let them enter your house. You don't know the damage that takes place in the sacred family link, the damage that you do to your children, your husband, your wife, to yourself, having a presence that should not be there, no matter if they're a family member, no matter if they're a friend, and doesn't matter the need that they may have. It doesn't matter what need they're in your house, they don't enter. Take it or leave it. That I'll now apply it to a country. A country, compare it with a house. You can have lots of spaces and your neighborhood to be one on top of another. You could have a palace, and the neighborhood, they live in huts and in tents. And that is no reason. They're going to envy you always, because you're going to live in something a lot better. If they were inside, they would be like, we wouldn't be cold. We wouldn't be in the heat of the sun. We would have heated water, or at least have water. So then, that is where we say, let us take that property, because that is where they live better. So then you have, because you earned it, or because you inherited, doesn't matter why, it's yours. It's yours. It's yours. So then a person with more need comes with a lot more need than you, with children, with babies, with little babies, and they enter into your property. What do you do? If you kick them out, or you leave them, it'll demonstrate whether you're just or not. There's no turn of the page. In the new kingdom, there can't be one illegal person. If we had a kingdom, just imagine, where there was justice, where everyone has their own house and we live excellent, where we have no need whatsoever, where there's no sicknesses, where there is life. And those outside of that will say, we don't have none of that. We want to enter there, because the mind starts, they start to think, I want to go there, and then they say, I deserve that. Why can they have that and not us? And they end up saying, oh, they're sons of bitches, tell the truth. To top it off, if they could kick them out, they would take that from you perfectly well. And not even saying about family members, evidently. I've seen it with my own eyes. Because they are rules in humanity. So then if somebody were to enter into that kingdom illegally means that they weren't invited. And they start to live there. What takes place? And the Mashiach tells you the example very clearly. It says, and these, they don't have their vestments. In other words, they don't have their paperwork. To be vestments. He says, and what about this guy? Wait, he has no paperwork. What do we do with this guy? The other guy didn't say a thing. Like an illegal. He didn't say a thing. What did he do? What did the Messiah do there? Demonstrating just an example, a parable. What did he do? What did he do with the one that didn't have paperwork or didn't have the proper paperwork. Out him and let where the screeching of teeth is. Out. Out with him. But poor guy, he was hungry. Leave him. Out with him. They want to enter. They have to present themselves and go through a whole process to ask to enter. And that's the way it is. Because in the New Kingdom, they invite everyone. They invite him through a door. It's not that they go directly in. No, they have to go through a school. They have to go through a school. They have to receive education. They have to understand that where they're going to enter, there are new rules. There are new rules. Not the old ones that they brought from Babylon, but new rules. That a whole bunch of things. It's not that, oh, they want to live here. Yeah, come in, come in, come in, come in. The same thing I tell you. You that are here for someday to impart justice. If you have no justice within yourself to give, you will never impart justice. Ever. You will not be adept to the office, and if you're not, then you won't be. I'll repeat this again. It doesn't matter where you come. If you don't have a permit to enter and stay, you have to leave. You have to leave. No matter if you lived 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, and you have children, I could care less. You have to leave. That is what justice is. Now, let us switch this over to what's happening in the U.S. Here, there is a war along greater than that. It's political. Because one side lets them in, another one kicks them out. I don't know if they're both organized or not. I don't know if somebody up there is guiding them all, like the protocols say. It would seem to be two different wings, but it's the same wing, the same animal, left and right, but it's the same bird, it's the same thing. So then one would seem that he lets him in, and then the other one seems like they want to kick him out. Oh, it's all part of the game. I know that. And the one above that is Yahweh, the one that moves everything. What is it that, how could you fix this situation that we're living here in the U.S. and California? How could we fix it? Because all of the violence that you see in television, which is real, burning cars and putting Mexican flags here from El Salvador, from Nicaragua. It could be one or two of Guatemala. I didn't see any Argentinian ones. I didn't see any. There could be some out of place that could put one there, but I didn't see any. Other countries' flags doesn't help the situation at all, but I believe that also they are paid. They are paid actors to incite for other idiots to follow them. Because it's not that it's born out of the worker that is here to put a flag. It's completely contrary to the movement that they want to use. They should put the American flag and says, we belong to this country, we love this country, and to burn the Mexican flag, that is what they should do, if they were a little bit intelligent. But the thing is that they're paid. So then for them to put a Mexican flag in an American territory, me as an American, it just makes me furious. One thing is that you have a little Mexican flag saying I was born in Mexico, that's fine. That's all fine. But don't put it as a national symbol in an American territory, a Mexican flag, because I'm going to shove it way up your ass, and I'm going to kick you out of here, and you're going to end up to the last of the south of Mexico. And if you burn a symbol of my country, that's going to infuriate me on the American side. It doesn't help your cause. The only cause that could help yours is to say, I love this country. I don't want what's mine. Because just imagine, in a new kingdom, the Messiah comes with a flag, and the other ones come with the Babylonian flag. And they go into the new reign, and they burn the Messiah flag, whichever it might be, they burn it. They spit on it, and they said, this is my flag, the one of Babylon. What do you think the Messiah would act there? So then, when we get on one side or the other, be very careful. There's also the pain of the people. Don't think I don't take that into account. The humanity of the people. Do you think it doesn't give me pain to have friends, to know people that have no paperwork and they live here, and to see them be deported? It's horrible. The pain that causes the people, the separation, the trauma. They're no longer from here or there because they don't have no space to live. No space to live. So then, what is the solution to all this? Because now the damage has been made. The damage has been made already. Let's give another example. Let's suppose that a guy lives with his family, but also he leaves all of a sudden illegally. He knows other women and has children with the other women, and so then afterwards it all gets fucked up. And then he has children here, children there. I know the case is not the same, but I want you to understand something. What is the solution there for the brethren or half brothers? It's incorrectly said. They're brethren. It doesn't have to both parents for them to be brothers. They're brothers from either just one parent in common or two. Period. They're brothers. There's no such thing as a half brother. No, they're brothers. They're brothers. All the children of Jacob were brethren, no matter if they were by one or another one of the wives. They were brothers. That title, half brother, is no. Don't ever use it. This is my half brother. What would be a fourth brother? What would be a fourth of a brother? There's no such thing as a half brother. It's either your brother if you have one parent in common, either your father or your mother. It is absolutely a brother. So then we've got brother here, brother there, and of course they teach them to not even get together. The brother, what is the solution to the problems that are already started like that? How would I solve this problem in the U.S. if I were the president of the U.S.? Having said what I said, how do I solve this problem? Well, I would solve it, not just this problem, but all the problems, but we'd have to kick out all the deep state because they wouldn't let me work. If I had absolute power here in the U.S., as absolute power, just like something as absolute power, without dog shit Congress or the dog shit senators or having to deal with, the beans up above me or any the big pharma, just a complete power of saying, look, here, I don't want this, and that's it, it's over, without having to be a puppet like most presidents are. This is easy to fix. It's easy to fix it. It's very easy to fix. The solution is not violence, not what we see now, because what we see now, it's a disaster. I said that we had to get them out, and we had to get them out at some point in time in the past. Now we're way past that. Now we even let them enter. And now we want to kick them out? No, that's not the solution. The solution to this problem, if you want to have it, is simple. But first of all, to make sure that no more people enter. That's first of all. Those who entered already entered. Make sure that no more enter. How do you make sure of that? First of all, not helping any more fucking countries. Whether it's Ukrainian or whoever the fuck that bore them, not sent one more cent to anyone. All the money, and even less Israel, all the money to leave it for this country. It could be seen from any country's point of view. And with the extra money that they're always giving money everywhere, which is gifts, but it's also business. I know, I understand. Don't tell me all kinds of things. I'll tell you what it is. But to do a system for no more people to enter, that's it. Second of all those who entered, absolutely all who entered, it just takes to sit them in an office and ask them where they're from, where they come from, what they know how to do. And if they have some sort of criminal backgrounds, kick those out. But they're not all with criminal backgrounds or things like that. Most of them, let's suppose they're not. But those that have some sort of criminality, a nasty one, not just a little violence like that, but a nasty one, those ones, deport them. Now the rest, you give them paperwork, you give them a social security, you let them apply to drive, and to pay for their citizenship, they give them a special program. Special program is this: education, first of all. What could be done here and what cannot be done here? Real education. Not thinking about walk education or Babylon education, but a real education. And afterwards, with the billions of people that the government has, which they spend in weapons and wars and all those things, to build cities, new cities, around the other ones. I'm not saying in the middle of the desert, but to start to build so that everyone can have houses, and they themselves have to build them. A part of study and part of work, and also a part for them to live. But this country would change, any country would, completely. It's no time to kick them out anymore. It's not time. You're gonna have more violence, and you're not gonna kick all them out. You're just gonna get some out, and you'll have violence everywhere. That's not the way. The way and the solution for the U.S. of A now is to shut down the borders, and everyone inside, tell them, hey, come here, I'm going to give you paperwork to all of them. I don't want anyone illegal here. Now that you're here, I'm going to help you, and we're going to have programs amongst all of us to make a lot more living houses. Not just in California. Everyone wants to live in California, because California is a sanctuary for illegals, and all the rest of the states also. Up there in the north, in the cold, they're not going to the cold. We're going to go work there, they're going to live there, we're going to have paperwork, and everybody's happy. And education. And to teach them the national pride of the U.S., not the national pride of their countries, which they could have, but to teach them why they're here and for what reason they're going to live better than over there. And afterwards, everyone else that wants to enter has to apply. So then when they need more mechanics, people making bread or whatever, they're going to have to apply and say, yes, we're needing 10,000 workers now. And we have in Mexico a whole list that want to enter. You grab them, bring them. I'm not against mixing everything. No. It makes a nation great. But when it's done with order, not when it's done illegally and massively and wrong. Because what's begotten is the contrary. I believe in a country of diverse cultures. It makes a country great. And if we want to make a country great again, we need what? I'm saying, will that happen? No, of course it won't. That'll never happen, what I'm saying. Because Babylon is destined for destruction. And Yahweh will not allow for what I'm saying to be done. He won't allow it. Because there's other interests behind. Because while this happens, what happens with Israel? They're kicking each other's asses over there. So there are lots of problems in the world. And then you're also hungry. You have problems of work. Everyone has problems of work. While this is happening here. So what does that mean? That the world has to enter into a type of tribulation, so that actually there is a need of a change. If there's no need of a change for something better, there's no such thing as a Messiah, because no one will want to have a Messiah when everybody's like that. I'm going to say, we don't need you. We don't want to live there. This works. If the system works, don't change it. If it ain't work, don't change it. So then, at some point in time, Yahweh, since He blessed Babylon, He has to curse them, and Babylon has to collapse. And for there to be a popular outcry where something different is needed, that is when a phrase that Yahweh invented and the New World Order uses, the order comes out of chaos. Order out of chaos. Order out of chaos. The Messiah has to go up above after chaos. If we enter always into a better type of government, greater peace, no Messiah will ever exist because there's no need of a Messiah. So then I believe that what we're seeing now, this whole problem, that in my point of view, I feel very bad for the people, very, very bad for the people. The U.S. government has no right to be asking people for papers. That is completely wrong. Knowing my way of thinking, that no one can live illegally, knowing what justice is in this point in time, it is injustice for the government to come and to ask you for your papers, because this is already seems like the Nazi national place that should never have existed. And it's not in the Constitution. It's just that Trump issued an order saying that the police has the right to ask you for papers now. That they could never ask you for that before. They can say, do you have a license? Are you drunk or whatever? But not ask you for paperwork. Police could never say, do you have paperwork to live here? They can't. So then fuck off to bitch that bore you. I'm not going to answer you. Now Trump gave him power to ask for paperwork, and this has become Nazi Germany wanting to fix the problem. No, justice cannot be achieved that way. And I don't even trust the justice to them. They're very much sons of bitches. I don't trust the justice to the government to say, now I'm going to do justice, and all the injustices that you have, you're no one to do justice. When you lie to me every time that you went to the moon and you don't even know how it is. When you lie to me every day that this is the solution for this and it's not. It's a lie. It's a mark. When you say you have to have this and that, and I see the contrary. When you obligate me to do other things that I don't want to do, so then you have no right to exercise justice. Don't come and say this is just. Yes, of course it's just, but an unjust person does not have a right to do justice, period. That's what I've told you. It's very clear. I wanted to make very clear my way of thinking. Having said all that, in this situation, the U.S. government cannot want to do justice when it's an unjust government in themselves. Understand all the variations of what I've said. Maybe you think in the end of it all, he didn't say it. First, he says it's fine to kick him out, that he had to kick him out, they had no right to live here, and now he comes to say that it's wrong to kick him out. If you're intelligent, you understood everything. The situation isn't just from the start that they live here illegally. Now it's also unjust for them to come and for the government who allowed them in and now to want to ask them for paperwork. So then it's all a movement. So then I don't believe the government anything. Once I don't believe anything, I could care less what they say. Or for them to try to say justice when the government is unjust. Babylon has no right to do justice. They have no right. What I see as justice is one thing, but the government has no right to exercise justice. Also, God doesn't have that right. It's the same concept. Same case for you to understand. I understand perfectly well what justice and injustice is. God has been doing injustice, also some justice. A couple here and there. Many. Now all of a sudden he says, I'm going to do justice. And I say, no, sir. No, sir. You may be the creator and the fucking bitch that bore you, but you're not going to do justice here. Why? Because you've done so many injustices. You've lost the right to do justice. I could care less if you're God, the devil, or whatever. I could care less. I could give a fuck. You taught a religion that was a lie. You taught lies directly. And now you expect to be the just savior? Oh, no, sorry, Bob. Both the U.S. government can't do justice, nor God can do justice. It has to be done by someone else. That's why there's the title of the God of Justice. If you understood all of my explanation, that is more than clear. This is becoming worse. I am on the side of the people, humanity, that wants to better their lives. I'm not on the side of the government. I understand that they should have never been here. I understand it all. I understand it all. But you have to do things right from the very beginning. God did everything wrong from the beginning on purpose That's why he himself said, I am not the Elohim of justice. I'm not the savior of the world. I'm not. The Mashiach is the savior of the world. The Mashiach will exercise justice. I cannot exercise justice, and that is the clear example. That is why I am against anything that the government of the U.S. is doing, acting as justice when they have their hands filled with blood of injustice. They cannot exercise it. Now they're going to have to eat it and allow someone that is just to rule. That's not going to happen until this whole government implodes on itself. Babylon has to fall. We cannot trust in Babylon for them to do justice. We cannot ask Babylon to do justice. We cannot ask God to do justice. We can't. Just like that, we can't. We can only say, let's say if you fulfill your word for you to send someone with power to do justice. That will do actual justice. That is the title called the God of Justice. Very well. That is what's taking place here in the U.S. I hope that actually, what I hope is that this is solved in the most peaceful manner, and that so that we can live here. Well, this whatever time left. This may be a scale. They're calling it a civil war already. We're not seeing anything. Okay, it's not that they're in front of my house. No, we're not seeing anything in Los Angeles. Even it's only in the center of Los Angeles. I don't know what's going on now. I could care less. But if everything gets fucked, then if shit hits the fan, then let shit hit the fans. I'm on the side of the people, not Babylon. On the side of the people. It's just that the agitators are the same as of the people ruling. I understand that they're the same because one that came here to work, they're not gonna get a flag of where they live and they burn where they want to live. No, we're seeing a theatrical act. I want you to see that it's a scene. It's a scene. It's all an act, supposed fight for power and justice and blah blah blah. It's all nauseous to me. It's all nauseous to me. Yahweh has to let his hand fall upon Babylon and to stop blessing it. Once that happens, then real justice will take place. John 6:63. The Spirit is the one that quickeneth, the flesh availeth nothing. The words which I have spoken unto you, they are spirit, and they are life. John 3:3-12. Then the Mashiach answered and said, Verily, verily, I say unto you, that he that is not born again, their way of thinking, their justice, their feelings, their religion, they cannot see the kingdom of God because it won't allow you. Not your religion or your justice or your emotions or your way of thinking, nor what you think that is righteous. It doesn't allow you to see the kingdom of God. Nicodemus said, how can a man be born being old? I'm old already. What am I going to do? It's my way of thinking. It's my religion. I mean, it's what I am. How can a man be born being old? Can he enter again into his mother's womb and be born again? How can that be done? Then the Mashiach answered, Verily, verily, I say unto you, that he that is not born of water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. What does it mean to be born of the Spirit? To be born of the Spirit, like I've already explained, is to be born of the words of the Messiah. There's no other way of being born. It is not to be born and then experience something again. No, that's not it. You wouldn't earn anything. You would be either the same person or someone else. It's useless either way. To be born of the Spirit is to be born of the Spirit of the Messiah, not of your spirit. Because to be born of your spirit is what you are already. That is why it is so important, this text, the Spirit is the one that quickeneth. What Spirit though? Your Spirit gives life? The Spirit of God quickeneth? No, it's the Spirit of the Messiah, that one that quickeneth, no one else. The Spirit is the one that quickeneth, and how is the Spirit received? Because you have a spirit that was molded by your parents. When I say your parents, it's all of them. Your parents, your religion, your education, your culture, your country, your symbols, national symbols. That is your spirit. It's your parents. The spirit is the one that quickeneth, not yours. The flesh that you have availeth nothing. It's no good. The words which I have spoken, they are spirit and they are life. So then the words which the Messiah pronounces, it's the spirit which, like a transfusion of blood, it is that way of thinking that the Messiah has. If you do not adopt them as yours, then they don't produce life for you. Because you could be in disagreement with the words of the Messiah, of course. So then, you don't have the spirit of the Messiah. You have your own spirit. That is as clear as daylight. So then, are you in disagreement with the Messiah? That's fine. Perfect. But you don't have the spirit of the Messiah. And life comes through the spirit of the Messiah. That is why when they tell Nicodemus, you have the spirit of the law, you have a Jewish spirit, you have a spirit, a religious spirit, anything you want, it's no good. You have to be born of the Spirit. And how can you be born of the Spirit? Because those are very pretty words. It says, I was born. You think that you get baptized, and I was born of this Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit invaded me in His image. That's not it. Absolutely, that's not the way it is. The Spirit, to go and incorporate it, they are the words which the Messiah speaks to you. Before, I used to think in a way, and with the words of the Messiah, you start to think in a different way. The Spirit changed. Something changed inside. It changed. Your way of thinking changed. Before, you used to think in a Trinity, and the Messiah comes and says, there's no Trinity. There is only one God Creator. Oh, what changed? What changed is your spirit. He gave you a transfusion. But it's not just one. You have to absorb the spirit of the Messiah. That is what the scripture says. In fact, you have to identify who the Messiah is, evidently, or else you won't receive that. If I identify that the Messiah is Christ Jesus of 2,000 years ago, there is no spirit to speak to me except for the words that are in the Bible. So then that is what Christianity does. They read, and they try to absorb the words, the little tiny words that are written of Jesus. And they are no good, and they don't help you change it at all. To top it off, you go and you wait for that very same person that said those words to come and give you life, because the words that you read, they don't have life. They don't have life. You can read them, and they don't give you life. So then how is it fulfilled that the words give you life if I read the words of the supposed Messiah and they don't give me life? I die, just like all the Christians have died. Like the apostles of that Messiah died. Notice that what are the apostles good for? Not at all, because they're apostles of that Messiah. And he wasn't the Messiah. So then apostles of what are they? What are they? Of nothing. Of a figure. I could be apostle of the lamb sacrifice. Is that going to help me at all? The same thing as the priest. Oh, with the lamb. The circumcision. It is no good. So then no apostle of Jesus Christ is any good. Because not even they received the words of life. They died. And even less are their lives going to give us life. They're all buried. So then since the words of that Jesus of Nazareth are not enough, that he didn't even say them or write them. It was written by two of his disciples and some other two that became disciples later, and through hearsay they wrote what they think he said, because Mark was never with him and Luke either. And so then who was with him? Matthew, kind of, sort of. And John, it was his disciples. So then why do they sit there and write both Luke and Mark as if they were the great apostles, and the words that they said? Oh, because they were told. Since they were told, they said, okay, let's write them. That way they're not lost 40 years later. And that, the Christians read that and they say, these are the words of life. The words of life. I remember the book of Ellen G. White, Words of Life of the Great Master. Those are the words of life of the Great Master. Ellen G. White is buried underground. No word was ever good for her. Of course, they make you believe that the faith, even if you die, you will resurrect. That isn't so. Absolutely not. It isn't so. So then the interpreters come. Paul comes later. Paul. And Paul interprets pretty well what he says in certain things. Pretty interesting. But he interprets the words of life of the Messiah. Let me ask you, the words of Paul, are they life? No, none of them are life. None of them. Because the Messiah says, my words are spirit and they are life. Paul didn't write any of his words. He wrote his experience, his message, his laws. He says, God says this, but I tell you to do this. Those were the words. Was Paul the Messiah? No, he was not the Messiah. So it doesn't matter anything that I read about Paul, no matter his logic, no matter what he may want to transmit to me, they are not words of the Messiah. They're not. So then there's no word that Paul may want to transmit to me that is any good to me to obtain life. It's good for something else, but not to obtain life. So then where the fuck are the words if we don't listen to them? Because not even the Messiah wrote anything. I want you to quote one text that Jesus wrote. None. None. Because even if it says Revelation, I, Jesus, I know it was written by John. It was written by John, who have to believe in John that he wrote the words. No, I mean, if it was, his words were so much life, he has to come and say, look, I wrote this. Just top it off. And what they wrote, we don't even know what it is. What the fuck did he write? But it was good that he wrote, because everything that they wanted to kill him, they all left. So he wrote something interesting, but is it good for me? I can't even read it. He wrote the commandments. Some ignorant fool would say, no. What he wrote, he broke them. Moses broke them. And when he went up, he made Moses write them. So then I don't even know if they're well written. I know that they're incorrectly written because Moses wrote them. So then what the fuck did God write? Nothing. God didn't write anything, nothing. So then why do we say the holy word of God? It's not the holy word of God. It is the word of certain human beings that would write wherever the fuck they wanted. And that's it. Maybe by inspiration of God, that's fine. Because he inspires everything, but he didn't write them. So then even if they want to tell me, even if somebody wants to tell you, and if they want to write books about me, if you didn't hear me, it's no fucking good. You didn't enjoy anything of what I give. Because if you don't listen and everything, and they disappear every video of mine, and then later there's more religions of saying, oh, this is what Christian said. Don't believe what somebody says that they write. I don't know, Saint Edward. So then the gospel of Christian, according to Saint Edward, that's what they'll call it. But then we also have another version, the gospel according to Saint Hector, and that's it. And with some contradictions. And those are the ones that saw me. And those that didn't see me, some of you, which listened to me, and they saw me in videos, they're going to come along. And then Saint Gospel according to Cadmiel. There's going to be contradictions because give or take. And then another one that didn't even listen to me, he listened to Cadmiel, and then he'll make his own gospel. That is what the Bible is. So then where is the word of the Messiah that gives life? Nowhere. It isn't found anywhere. So then they can write a lot about me. They can write what I said. But as long as they don't see me, don't receive anything. And don't believe anything. Because sometimes when they quote me, they misquote me. Because Christian says, how many times have they asked me, did you say this? Go watch the subject to see if I said that. Just imagine if I'm not there. What if I weren't here and the years pass? What if there's no video to remember everything? It's all destroyed. And it's all destroyed. YouTube destroyed all the copies. And then you start to write my subjects by memory. By memory. What was I saying? Do you know the mistakes you're going to make? One time Christian said this, and one will say it in one way, and another in a different way. And that is what we have. So then, what does it mean? What the Messiah tells Nicodemus? He that is not born of the water and of the Spirit, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. I'll translate that because it is clear. You understand it clearly. He that is not born of the words of the mouth of the Messiah, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. He cannot enter into the kingdom of God. Not because you read it in a book, not because you were told. You have to hear it from the very mouth of the Messiah. Because my words, they are spirit and they are life. So then, if my words, those of the Messiah, go against what you think, that is precisely what you must change. That is precisely what you have to change. But you have no life in yourself. Evidently you don't. Unless you are the Messiah, then we would have to listen to you. Because if you have a different opinion to that of the Messiah, and whatever opinion, and you're the Messiah, I mean, I'll just shut everything down and go listen to you, and whatever stupid shit you said, then I'll say, no, I'm going to follow you. If I see the Messiah, and the Messiah says, look, I listen to the Messiah, and the Messiah comes, so I identify the Messiah, and he says, blessed art thou, my children, or listeners, that abide all the people in your house. Blessed art thou that take your children out of their rooms and you stick them in one room, like many of you do, and you leave their rooms to other people that are in need. That is what I like. So then I identify the Messiah and say, oh wow, I am wrong, fucking bitch. Either I do that, that one will have right to my kingdom. So then I say, I've identified the Messiah. My thoughts are against that. Because I know that'll bring so many problems, but I identified the Messiah. So then I'm wrong. Because if that's the Messiah and I identified him, the one that is wrong is me. So then if I defend my point of view, it's as if to say, look, you're not my Messiah. And it could happen. It could happen. If I don't like the way of thinking of the Messiah, no fucking word of his Spirit will enter me. Because I don't like it. I don't like it. And well, that's it. That's how we'll end up. If the Messiah comes along and says, look, you have to sacrifice a lamb. I'm going to say, look, I don't like that. The Creator comes and says, look, that's the Messiah. I'll say, well, then you and the Messiah can fuck off to the bitch that bore you. Because I won't do any of that. And I'll send you to hell. That's fine. Send me to hell, do whatever you want. But your spirit will not be in tune with me. Maybe that's happening to you. Or to whomever listening to me. It could be. It could be. But understand this clearly, that as long as there is no change in your spirit of understanding these things, if the Messiah has life in his words and you're not receiving them, the thing is that I give you a very nasty example. The thing is that the Messiah, actually the Spirit, the Elohim of justice, will tell you true things. He's not going to be saying stupid things. I gave you an example to go against me. But if he gives you a clear example, and you, in your rebellion, you said, no, I'm very much of a national, I like my country. Why do I have to like blue and gold, for example? Well, that's your problem. That is your problem. You don't like that, that's fine. If you don't like that, that's fine, leave. I'm drastic like that. Because life has not entered you. Because the Messiah has that way of thinking. His words, their spirit, and their life. You don't have spirit and you have no life. Evidently, you need to receive the words of the Messiah. So then it says, he that is not born of the Spirit, and of the words of the Messiah, he cannot enter into the kingdom of God. What is born of the flesh, as such, as we are all born, it is flesh. What is born of the Spirit, there's the secret. How are you born of the Spirit? It is as simple as to say, he that is born and has the mind of the Mashiach, He listens to him. He notices that his normal thoughts are contrary to that, but he changes that. And he says, no. Now I've understood. I love it. It is the way of being. I thought that I had to help my grandma, my aunt, my cousin, this and that. I put them in my house. They didn't have where to live. Poor things. I would pick them up off the street and blah, blah, blah. Now I've understood all the mistakes that I've had. Unless you say, oh no, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't think you should treat a person like that. That is in the ground, to hit them while they're down. You should not have humbled them like that, because you have a different spirit. You have a different spirit. So then, that part about that you should not have humiliated them that way, you have not understood anything. So then that part of the spirit will not enter. Because no, that's the way I am. Things are not done that way. Things have to be done the way I say. Maybe you have a part that you're not born of the spirit. What does it say? And what is born of the spirit, it is spirit. Careful that we're all flesh. We are all flesh. But in order to be a spirit, and we're not talking about being flesh and a spirit flying. No, the spirit is live, and the spirit comes from the Mashiach only. To be a spirit, you have to fight against your flesh. Do not marvel not that I said this, that it is necessary for you to be born again. Marvel not. The wind bloweth from whence it wisheth, and you hear its voice, but you know not where it cometh or where it goeth. That is exactly what it means, that the words of the Messiah will blow at you like a wind that you don't know where the fuck he comes from. Because you have an idea of what the Messiah should say. Of course, everyone forms an idea. The Messiah should say this. The Messiah should be very courteous. The Messiah should not say bad words. The Messiah should have an attitude very humane and kind towards the poor. The Messiah would never oppose or against some strange colors. The Messiah is not going to like soccer. That's crazy. All that preconceptions that you have, the Messiah breaks them by saying, the wind bloweth from which it winneth. In other words, the wind is a part of what comes out of the mouth of the Messiah. That is what the text is saying, and I've never explained it to you before. The wind bloweth, it means, he's going to say, because the words are produced by wind. It says the message of the Messiah will come from wherever, from when you least expect it, from wherever. It talks to you about subjects that you don't even expect. The wind bloweth from which where it wisheth, and you hear its sound, yet you know not where it cometh from or where it goeth. You don't know where he got that or where he's going with that. Of course, because you listen to that wind and you accept it. You absorb it. You absorb that wind. You're going to start to say, oh, I don't think that's, I accept this, and that, but this little wind here, I don't like this wind here. Then you're not born of the Spirit. Nicodemus answered and said, how can this be done? And Messiah answered and said, are you a teacher of Israel, and you know not this? Verily, verily, I say to you that we speak of what we know, and what we've seen we testify, and ye receive not our testimony. If I have spoken to you of earthly things, and you believe not, how would you believe if I were to talk to you about the heavenly ones? Why do you think that I speak about this when I wouldn't even care about speaking about this at all? It doesn't even give me pleasure in speaking about this. This is just because of your own good. You have to understand it clearly, at least. And then you make your decision. You have to understand this clearly. No matter how many of you there are left, the number will be a number predetermined already. So then, I want to warn you that when the Messiah is identified, if you want to be followers of the Messiah, you have to be born of the words of the Messiah, not of the words of what you believe. To choose the words of what you believe, then you should not listen to any Messiah. It's already been born of your words. It has to be born of the words of the Messiah. That is why I just indicate this, nothing else. Because when the Messiah makes himself present, if you identify him, it is better that you listen to absorb of His Spirit and understand. And if it goes against what you believe, then that's fine. That is the part that you have to change. It crashed against your flesh. You don't even know where He comes. It's not the way that you like. It's not the way that makes you feel happy, because the Messiah doesn't come to make you feel happy. It is to demonstrate that you're a piece of flesh and that He has to make you a spirit. If you want to. That is what it is to be born again. Many might say, but what? I mean, what? How proudful and full of himself is the Messiah. And yes, I would see Jesus of Nazareth, and he was very full of himself. He's telling a guy that is an expert of the law, he says, look, Nicodemus, everything that you know is no good. It's no good. He was desperate, the guy was. He was desperate. He thought he was good. And the other one comes at him and says, with some words that he did not even expect. Do you know how that hurt in Nicodemus' heart? That felt proud of knowing the law. He had the law treasured. He memorized the law, and not the Ten Commandments, the entire Torah. He was an expert in the law. It was part of the Sanhedrin. The guy had power. That's why he came at night, for no one to see him. Powerful guy. He had come to the top of the government of Israel, not just politically, but religious also. Something that we don't even know what it is to feel that power. For the Messiah comes and says, you are dead. What? Your flesh. You're dead. You're a dead person. But Lord, you're dead, Nicodemus. You're dead. Do you know who you're talking to? You're dead. You are flesh, and the flesh is to no avail. You have to be born again. What are you talking about? I come from the best family. My name is Nicodemus. I don't know what else. My dad was Nicodemus' father. My mom was a holy woman. I come from this Levite, the best of the tribes, the tribe which God blessed. My father was Aaron. And if we go above that, also the brother of Moses. I come from a lineage, yours doubtful. Son of who were you? Because the guy was doubtful. With a mother that was pregnant, out of wedlock, and Joseph maybe got a different wife later, whatever, and people are like, hey, what's going on here? What do you mean she was pregnant? Out of wedlock and all that? And the guy, Nicodemus, was a Levite. He could follow his lineage direct, all the way up to Aaron, the first high priest. Do you know what pride is? That pride is of having that? For example, one of the grandparents was a president of the Argentinian nation. Yes. Kind of not so far away, but oh well. And grandparent or great-great-grandparent, he was the president, Faustino Sarmiento. Yes, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. Leslie is closely related to Pablo Picasso. Her mom's last name was Picasso. Does that give his honor? Nah. But what I do tell you is to be and to mention every person all the way up to Aaron. It would make Nicodemus feel very proud. And then they come to the Messiah, and the Messiah says, you are flesh, you're dead. You're dead. You are a descendant. What do you mean? Yep. What do you mean I have to change the colors? You have to change your colors. And if not, then stay the way you are. But he says, but wait, I wasn't expecting that. Well, the Spirit does however the fuck he wants. What do you mean? You have to be born again, Nicodemus. What do I have to be born again? To go back to my mom and be born again? No, I'm not talking about that. To be born of the Spirit. And that it's my words. Same thing happens to you. You have no direct descendants of Aaron. You don't know what mixture you have, actually. You could suspect you have more of this, more of that. So then your pride should be nothing. Compare yourself to Nicodemus, and Nicodemus, the Messiah, tells him that, look, Nicodemus, I could give a fuck that your great-grandpa was this and that. I could give a fuck. It is no good. You're dead. You have to change your way of thinking. So then if you, that actually don't have that pedigree, you don't have that direct lineage, and even less are you religious that know and that you have a political religious power to top it off, you believe that you know more than the Messiah, it is more than, even more wrong than Nicodemus. Nicodemus, he was a guy that had enough to say, hold on, I am someone. I have power here, okay? Because I came at night and I didn't want anyone to see me, but I have such power. Yeah, Nicodemus, that's fine. You have to be born again. And the rest, well, they have to be born again. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. How long have I been speaking already? An hour 57. An hour 57. What have you learned today? What have you learned today? What have you learned today? In order to learn today something, you have to watch my words. Again, conclusion. You'll never get illegal anywhere as illegal. You have to go there as illegal. Don't go there. Don't go there. It's not your place. It's not your home. You're just taking advantage because you want to take advantage of your neighbor that lives better than you. And to go into a country illegally is the same thing as if you go into your neighbor's house illegally. If they have better, the grass is always greener on the other side, right? And you have no right to go and take his grass because he's blessed and you're not. I want that to make that very clear. When you have that and have understood it clearly, and when you've gone through all types of things, then check everything that I've said already. Everything that I've said already. Because here, Babylon is no one to do justice. The justice starts from the very time in which you do an action. Either it's righteous or not. Babylon cannot exercise justice when they're in essence unjust. Now, the acts of these people that entered, they're also unjust. Here, there's no one on the side of the justice. No, neither one. They're both wrong. I want to make that very clear. Both parties are wrong. If I had power to exercise justice, I would do justice. And I'll do justice to those that didn't do justice. Precisely, they entered unjustly. But I do justice to what justice is in itself, into the country, giving them papers and making them just. We can see that a little bit. Maybe next Shabbat we'll talk about justice, faith, works. I want to talk a little bit about that because it has to do with this. It has a lot to do with this. So then, this world is an unjust world of all parties that there's ever been. I hope you've understood that. Also, for you to comprehend that, there has to be chaos in this world. Everything has to hit the fan. Shit has to hit the fan per se. Oh, you have to use those words? Yes. You don't know where the wind cometh from, or whether it goeth. It's not in the way that you expect it. So then this world has to hit the fan. Babylon, in other words, Yahweh. He has to do and make everything come undone so that there's a need of a change. And that is when he says, this is the solution. And the Messiah comes to make the solution. So then there has to be problems, and the problems have to augment. I was already surprised that everything is way too peaceful. In fact, I hope that peace doesn't come soon. You're like, what? You're so wrong. Well, they waited for the solution to come, or else there's never going to be a solution. You see how, even in Germanic medicine, when the conflict is present, there has to be a part in which there is a crisis. When the conflict is solved, a crisis is entered, which ends up in an epileptoid crisis, in order for afterwards to go back to a normotomy, a recuperation. But there has to be a crisis. Even in Germanic medicine, the order comes out of chaos. It's order, chaos. Order. If in the world you have lots of order, no one wants order, any order. In fact, the people say about Agenda 2030, it's all fine. Why do we want that agenda? Everything has to be wrong. In fact, with the idea of implementing the Agenda 2030, where you won't have anything to be happy, it could be that this is the beginning of pains, per se, where the end of the solution will be horrible, but that is when also the other option comes up, the option of the Messiah. And this has to do so much with the text of the invitation. The text of the invitation says, Isaiah 27, 8 through 3. In that day sing ye unto her a vineyard, the beautiful vineyard, I, the Lord, do keep it. I will water it every moment, lest any hurt it. I will keep it day and night. If you notice, as it turns out, there is an immigration policy here, because in the following text it says if there is a threat, if there are bad things, I'm going to root them out. I'm going to prune it. As it turns out, the one that takes care of it is the government. He has to take care of his citizens. He has to protect his citizens that no exterior threat comes. As parents, we protect our children. As rulers of a kingdom, we must, and like this text says, we must protect the citizens. What happened here is that our government failed in the protection. They failed. Completely they failed. And now they can't come and exercise justice when it's another fault also. Another fail. They're all fails. That is why the text says, on that day shall they sing unto the beautiful vineyard, I, the Lord, I am its guardian. The government is not a guardian. I water it frequently, lest it lack its leaf. Day and night I take care of it. And now we go to the texts of Isaiah. How many have forgotten to give us like? At least something. Do today. Give us a like. And then leave a comment later. Of course, all the ones that insult and everything say stupidity is come and say because they have a different spirit completely, of course. 217 likes. We should have a little more at least. Do something. Okay. Let's see if it went up. It's going up. Who forgot? Okay. How many have I been here? 2 hours and 4 minutes. I'm about to leave you. I think, yeah, 2 hours is enough. Because I wanted to leave you a teaching. Don't ever get on one side or the other. You have to understand what injustice is. And injustice is, it's all injustice. But the first injustice is to invade a place that doesn't belong to you. That's injustice. And also injustice is to exercise justice when you don't have the right to do it. And the government of the U.S., nor the President Trump, nor anyone is qualified to exercise justice because they're actually nefarious. Because they exercise injustice. I'll never forget that the one that brought the vacuum cleaners was this same president. The one that declared the demon of Pan. So then when it was this guy, so then when he says I have to do justice for my country, I'll say, but you're a son of a bitch. You brought us a solution that was a lie, and you declared something that was a great lie, a huge lie. You shut down the country, the economy went down to the floor. Now you want to act like you want to do justice. It's as if God wants to do justice to those of before the flood. For him to say, oh, just imagine. Or Noah was wrong. In the end of it, he was wrong. Oh, all of you, it can't be. What's he going to say? Yeah, I killed you, but now I'll resurrect you. I was wrong. I said that your heart was continuous towards evil, and it isn't so. It wasn't so much that. No. it was a disaster because those that came out of my chosen who was perfect in my eyes, the even worse wickedness came afterwards. And actually helped him. He's going to say, I helped him because I was a dragon. No, but I come and do justice to you. No, he can't do justice. God cannot do justice. He's not qualified to do justice. The same thing is what's happening now. So then, it is nauseous to me, whatever is to try to do justice when they are absolutely unjust. Isaiah 27:1. In that day, Yahweh, the new God, will soar, and great and strong sword shall punish the Leviathan. I can't wait for that day. The piercing serpent, and the Leviathan wants to do justice. No. Oh, I'm the Leviathan that come to do justice. No. I'll do justice, Leviathan. I'm going to cut you in half. You will no longer exist. And the Leviathan, the piercing serpent, even Leviathan that cooked serpent, and shall punish the Leviathan in the sea. On that day, sing about the vineyard of the red wine, or the fertile ground, or the beautiful vineyard, or the pleasant vineyard. I, Yahweh, the new God, do keep it. I will water it every moment, lest any hurt it. I will keep it night and day. Fury is not in me. Who would set the briars and thorns against me in battle? I would go through them. I will burn them together. There it is. A true ruler. If the beautiful vineyard is invaded by the thorns or thistles, because the thorns thought that they had water there, because the thorns thought that they could live there with a beautiful vineyard, what does the ruler of the Messiah do? I'll read it to you in the New Living Translation, Isaiah 27:4. My anger will be gone with the fig tree, with the vineyard. If I find briars and thorns growing, I will attack them. I will burn them up. Oh, yes. If somebody wants to invade the kingdom of the Messiah in a wrong way, if somebody wants to invade illegally his beautiful vineyard, the government of the Messiah will not let them in and join and become one to join. I mean, you understand what I'm saying. To join the fig tree. No. He says, what does the real government do? He attacks them, burns them. He attacks them and burns them. No, but poor little thorn. He burns them up. This is an example of how his new kingdom will be taken care of. It says, if I find thorns growing, or that they crossed in illegally, I could read, I will attack them and burn them up. Unless they turn me. Does somebody has the strength or the power to force my kingdom, my fortress, everything that I've done in this new kingdom? Can somebody come and contaminate it? Illegally? No. Now, they want to make peace with me. Let them make peace with me. Yes, let them make peace with me. It is open. The Messiah is open to say, I want to live there. Oh, yes. So then let's do the paperwork. Let's do a school. You have to take certain customs that you have out. You have to understand the spirit of those that live here to act like a true citizen, and we'll let you enter. It's not that we're not going to let you enter, but you have to go through an immigration process, which will include for you to swear unto a new constitution and a new flag and a new government. You have to swear, leaving yours behind. If you don't want to do that and you want to jump the fence, we're going to kick you out, burn you, and cast you out. Kick you out immediately. That is the policy of immigration. They can enter, they can apply. If they pass the school and they swear, but they have to swear, then they get their citizenship assured. Otherwise, they don't. No illegals. Or shall somebody force my fortress? Let him make peace with me. Yes. Let him make peace with me. Yeah, do it in a good way. Do it correctly. Always. The door is open for everyone, but in a good way. Days shall come when Jacob, the new citizens, shall take root, shall blossom and bud, Israel will, the new citizens, and fill the face of the world with fruit. How marvelous is this promise? The promise is that the citizens of the new kingdom will fill the earth. And when we talk about the earth, it is an earth in expansion. In other words, the kingdom of the Messiah will start as something small and will start to grow. Not through an illegal immigration, but through a legal migration. Because legally, he opens the door to everyone. It's just that they have to go through a process of education. And also through swearing, an oath that they have to take. If they're willing to do that, that kingdom will take them in, will make them citizens. Now, if they don't want that, they're going to be left outside until they want that. What is the prophecy of God Creator? That this world will become bigger and fill the whole earth. That is the promise. It's not going to say it will be smaller. The thing is that many will doubt to enter. Many will want to be left outside. It isn't so. They're going to want to consult all the earth. It is a rock that grows until it completes the earth. And the prophecies have to give the same final result. The prophecy always says the Messiah wins and covers all the earth. The kingdom of God covers all the earth. The kingdom of the new God covers all the earth. So then, the time will come when, but they'll all abandon their previous citizenship, Babylon, whichever it might be, and they'll enter the kingdom of the Messiah, and they'll enter in a legal way. What a beautiful text. Days shall come when the new citizens, which is Jacob, will take root. And to take root means that they will sign up. It's all the things are perfect once you read them with the Spirit. It's just like with the law and the Spirit. It's just like, notice that when you come to a land, you come uprooted from another. Because those are our roots. Don't we call them roots? But to leave from one place to another, you have to uproot yourself. If a tree wants to move to another place, he has to break those roots and then root them in a different place, it costs. It's difficult. There's a biological shock. He cannot feed himself in the same way. But notice how this is formulated. It says, days shall come when the new citizens shall take root, which means that they will take root. They will nourish themselves. They'll love it. One thing is that when I came to this country, legal and all, and I wasn't taking root, it cost me to take root. I could not adapt myself, but once I learned of why, I learned English. Once I was confident enough that this was my country now, there I took root, and there I started to grow. That's what I'm telling you. There I started to grow, but at first you don't take root. In fact, you walk from one place to another, and will take roots. It will flourish. When we take root, it's when you see the fruit, not the fruit, but rather the flowers. What comes first, the flower or the fruit? This is magnificent because the new citizens, they'll go through a period of adaptation. When they go through that period of adaptation, you'll see how marvelous the kingdom of the Messiah will be, and then you'll see how they'll take root. They'll say, at my doubts I entered here, but no, this is marvelous. That is when they take root. When they take root, barely then do they flourish. So then the flowers will pass, and it'll take time to see it. If I were to give papers to all the illegals now, it'll take time to take actual root. But once they take root, they will give flowers. And when they give flowers, the text moves on. It says, they shall take root, flourish, and blossom and bud. Israel will. The new citizens, what does it mean, bud? They will expand and expand, and the face of the world shall they fill with fruit. First they take root, they blossom, and its fruit fills the world. That is a promise that is more than marvelous. It's incredible. I mean, this text is absolutely incredible when you read it with the Spirit. When they read it with the Spirit, you can see further, and that's where you see it. That is how you read it with the Spirit. Day shall come when the kingdom of the Messiah and the citizens that have entered, that have accepted to be citizens, have sworn to be citizens of the Messiah, shall take root. They shall flourish and bud and fill the face of the world with fruit. How magnificent, magnificent. In other words, what it's saying is that the kingdom of the Messiah, the only thing that it has is prosperity. A prosperity that you cannot imagine, to a point that it'll fill the earth, and the earth is in expansion. It's going to fill it, it'll be expanded, fill it again, and expand it, and as necessary as it must, or continuously, because it'll continue to give fruit, because it's an eternal kingdom. I like this so much. I like this text so much, this sequence of the text, I like it so much that I'll end up with this. I'll read it once, 2, 3, 4, in 5 different versions. The sequence of the text with everything that I've explained already, but just so you see that every translator added different words, but they're all pretty, they're all beautiful, because you understand the spirit thereof. Isaiah 27, 3 to 6. I'll read 3, 4, 5, 6 in different versions. This is the Kadosh version. Isaiah 27, 3 through 6. Kadosh. I, Yahweh, do keep it. Momentarily, now and again, I water it, lest any hurt it. I keep it day and night. I have no fury in me. If it produces briars and thorns, then as in war I will crush it down and burn it up immediately, unless they become one with my fortress to do peace with me. Yes, to do peace with me. And those who are coming are the children of Jacob. Israel will blossom and bud and will fill the world entirely with their fruit. Magnificent. I'm not going to be translating what Israel means. You already know. Translate it in your mind. I'll read it as is. Isaiah 27, 3 to 6 in the Spanish DHH 2002. I, the Lord, am who keeps it, and I water it frequently. I take care of it day and night, so that anyone does not hurt it. I am not angry at her. If it had thorns and briars, I would war against them and burn them up completely. If they want me to protect it, make them make peace with me. Yes, let them make peace with me. In the future, the people of Jacob will take root. Israel shall blossom, flourish, and fill the world with its fruit. Isaiah 27, 3 to 6, New Living Translation. I, the Lord, will watch over it, watering it carefully. Day and night I will watch, so no one can harm it. My anger will be gone, If I find briars and thorns growing, I will attack them, I will burn them up. Unless they turn to me for help, let them make peace with me. Yes, let them reconcile unto me. The time is coming when Jacob's descendants will take root. Israel will bud and blossom and fill the whole world with fruit. Every one of these versions are so magnificent as the next, but I love what it says. That's why I'm reading them in different versions. Isaiah 27, 3-6 in the textual Bible. I, Yahweh, am its guardian. I water it at every moment so that no one can harm it. I keep it day and night. There's no indignation in me. If it were to give me briars and thorns, I would launch myself against them to burn them all up. Now, if they ask for help from me, they will make peace for me. Yes, they shall make peace with me. In days to come, Jacob shall take root. Israel will bud and flourish, and its fruit shall fill the face of the world. The last one, the version, I can't remember. This one was the TNM. I'm not sure what it stands for. No, it's not Torzamat. It's the Testament of the New World. Could be. Testament of the New World. Who knows? Something of the New World. Isaiah 27, 3-6, TNM. I, Yahweh, safeguard it. Every moment shall I water it, so that no one can guide its attention against her. I will safeguard it, even day and night. There's no fury that I may have. Who will give me briars and weeds in battle? Surely I will crush those, and surely I will burn them up in turn. Otherwise, let them ask for help with me, and to make peace with me, to make peace with me. In the upcoming days, Jacob shall take root. Israel shall flourish and actually blossom and simply fill the surface of the earth productively with products. In other words, fruit. 7. Hath he smitten him as he smote those that smote him, or is he slain according to the slaughter? I'll read this in a better way that it's saying what the new God is saying. I'll read it in the Spanish DHH, and then I'll read it in the book of the people of God. Isaiah 27:7. God hath not smitten Israel like he has done with his oppressors, nor has he slain Israel as he slaughtered his assassins. The book of the people of God says, has the Lord smitten him like he smote those who smote him? Has he slain him as he has slaughtered those who slain him? What does this mean? It's very simple. The new God will not punish the citizens as he has also punished Babylon. He will give death to Babylon, what Babylon is, what the system is, what their lies are. The rest, they could be shaken, purified, but not even in comparison with the death that he will give to Babylon. That is what he's saying. He's saying, you were punished a little bit, and if you get things, I'll cut them out, I'll prune them and punish them, but never again like he punished Babylon. That is what the text says. 8. In measure will thou punish him in its fourth. In other words, the instruction and what they will be learning, the citizens will, until they take root and give fruit. will take a lot of instruction. It'll take even punishment. That is what the prophecy says. I see it more like instruction, discipline, like many, those types of things. Like one, when you discipline your children. That's why it says, with measure, not without measure. With measure shall you punish him when it shooteth forth. It's talking about the vineyard, mind you. That the God of the vineyard says he will punish you, but with lots of measure. It is to set you and teach you and for you to learn. With measure you shall punish him when it shooteth forth. He removes them as in the day of the east wind. Now, pay attention because this text is so impressive. I read all the Jewish commentaries that I have, even those that I don't have, because I have way too many, of this text. What do the rabbis say? Because it is very clear. The Christians kind of faked it a bit. The rabbis say exactly what it says because every word is referring to something specific, but very harsh for them. Many don't understand it. Others say, because of the sin of Israel, this happened. You can't even imagine what they say. But now I'll tell you what it says. 9. By this, therefore, shall the iniquity of Jacob be purged. Who's Jacob? The new citizens. Here I am going to translate it again. So then in this way, through punishment, corrections, but with measure, shall the iniquity of the new citizens be punished. The iniquity has to be corrected because the new citizens don't know everything. They have to go through a class, and then old practices come up later that you have to correct. And this will be all the fruit. Oh, it's going to talk about a fruit in specific. The removal of their sin. When we talk about sin, we talk about wickedness. We have to remove what they think is right, but it's wickedness. The removal of their sin. When they maketh all the stones of the altar as the chalk stones that are beaten in sunder, the groves and images shall not stand up. This text, you cannot even imagine what it says. The Jews clearly understand what it says, and they don't know how to interpret it. Did you understand what it says? Did you understand what it says? I don't think you understood it, because it's not translated in the correct way. I'll read it to you in the Spanish DHH, before explaining it to you. Isaiah 27:9. But he shall forgive the sin of Jacob and delete its faults, with the condition that he brings down all its pagan images as if crushing chalk stones, that no sacred altars or incense altars be left in honor of the gods. False. Translated as ass. I didn't find a better word. The Torres Amat. In the Torres Amat, you'll understand a little bit more of this craziness that you'll learn today. Should I teach it today? And thus shall the iniquity be pardoned unto the house of Israel. It's talking about the new citizens of the kingdom, mind you. You have to continue to correct them. And that note, their iniquity shall be forgiven unto the house of Jacob. And this shall be all of its fruit, that their sin be deleted after God, the new God, has made for all the stones of altars or temples of Jerusalem be left as chalk stones that are beaten in sunder, and the groves and images shall not stand up. That is what it says. It's not saying about any pagan altars. It's saying the altar of the temple. All that religion that is complete dog shit. That is what it says. That's what the Jews go crazy saying. Well, what it says here, you can look it up and read it because they cannot find an explanation where it says that they have to do away entirely with the existence of a temple, but not God, the new God. That's why they can't understand it at all. They think that God says, look, I want you to destroy your temple completely, that the stones of the temple be crushed asunder as if they were chalk stones, so that they're made complete dust. I don't ever want to know about the religion that there's a temple where they do sacrifices. I mean, who's telling it? Now you start to understand it. And your spirit starts to change. This is a direct transfusion. That's how the mind is changed. The earthly mind is changed to a mind of the spirit. The new God is saying, you're going to delete any glimpses, and I'm telling you of this, of your temple. Do you know the love that every Hebrew has towards their temple? If what they desire is their temple, when the Messiah, in symbol, he said, destroy this temple, they thought he was talking about their temple, and they went crazy. He was talking about their temple. Destroy this temple and I'll rebuild it in 3 days. They said, but it cost us 46 years and blah, 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 the temple. Their pride was the temple, and it still is up until today. And along with the temple is the religion symbolized, because what is the end of their religion? Their temple, where their God lives according to them, where they do their rites in their temple. Now, why can't they do the entire Torah? Because they don't have a temple. But the text of Isaiah in the new kingdom of the Messiah says, you're going to have to learn that I don't want in your mind any sort of debris left from that temple. Because with that, we have the Adventist temples, the Catholic temple, any temple. But since he's talking to Israel, he's saying you're going to have to beat it asunder, the temple, in your mind, in your heart, because that temple will no longer exist. You have to take it out of your heart. The temple is nothing. I am your God. Impressive is this text. I'll read it to you again in the Spanish DHH. In this way, then, the iniquity of Jacob shall be pardoned. Notice Jacob. Obviously, it's the new citizens. And this will be all of the fruit, the removal of their sin, of their iniquity. When they do all the stones of the altar, which means temple. And you understand that clearly. All the Jews say temple of Jerusalem. The Christians have not understood that. They could never understand this. They said pagan temples. What do you mean pagan temples? Hold on a moment. It says temple. Temple of Jerusalem is referring to the temple. Referring to the temple. As also when I told you that Lucifer was Israel, and all the things that they talked about, it was in the temple. I put you high in the high places. It says I gave you the northern place. In code it says I gave you where you were brought up and you made the temple. I've explained that to you years ago. The people say that you wanted to have a throne up high. No, it doesn't say that. The text says you even made, or I made you create a temple. In the zone of the north, you put the throne. That Lucifer is Israel in that case, because that Lucifer was the bearer of light, and he tells them, I put you as the bearer of light. You're Lucifer. You even made a throne in the northern side. The northern side is the temple of Jerusalem. It's key. It's in key. The Jews are going to tell you this clearly, and I read to you in the Jews and Jewish commentaries. Well, in this case, it says, how is iniquity forgiven? Is by eliminating all vestiges of your religion. If you're Jewish, the stones of the altar of the temple of Jerusalem, you have to beat them asunder as if they were chalk stone. It becomes all powder. You have to destroy it for nothing to be left of the Jewish religion, nothing of the Christian religion, nothing of the Christ that you have in your mind, nothing of the Christ that will come and look for you or rapture you, nothing, until you don't make it Dust, that Christ, that Trinity, or that Father, none of that will help you. Not your Christ, not your God, nor your cross, nor your temple of Jerusalem. Nothing, nor your Torah, nothing. You'll have to crush it as if it were chalk stones. That's what it says. And so, with all this, will its iniquity be forgiven into the house of Jacob, and that will be all its fruit, that its sin be deleted after God has done for all the stones of the altar, or the temple of Jerusalem, to be left as stones of chalkstone beaten asunder, and that they be rushed, the temples that were profane. What are those, all the rest of the temples that they've done to any god, whatever it might be? Starting with that in Jerusalem and following with all Christian temples. But I'm not talking about the temple in reality of destroying it. I'm talking about the heart of the people. Talking about the heart. Because I, as an Elohim of justice, I would like to keep the Vatican, for example, as a museum. What the fuck people were believing in. We're not talking about literal destruction, for example. The Temple of Jerusalem no longer exists. They don't even know where the fuck it was built. They think that it was in a specific place, but a lot of people differ. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. It has disappeared and it will no longer appear. But the text is not saying for you to actually take a hammer and destroy it. No, 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 no. I want you to take it out of your heart. For you to say, those temples, those gods, they are dead. They shall not resurrect. From here on out, you are my God. You are my new Elohim. That is what it means by changing the words. But the text is so strong that the Jews don't know what to do with this. Because they say, but God says that in the end of it all, in the future time, actually, you have to destroy the whole temple. They say it. Because they don't know what to do with this text. So then it says, I'll read on. Something that's marvelous that continues. The one that follows is marvelous. I'll read first as context what I read before. Number 8, and with measure you'll punish it. When it giveth fruit, he removes them with its strong wind in the day of the east wind. In this way shall the iniquity of Jacob be forgiven, and this shall be all the fruit in the removal of its sin, when he causes for all the stones of the altar as chalkstone that is beaten asunder, that groves and images shall not stand up. On that day, I'm reading, hold on. Of course, that was number 9, because I have another one to read. Okay. Okay, I'll read it number 10. For the defense city shall be desolate, and the inhabited city shall be forsaken and left like a wilderness. What is the defense city? Babylon. What is the inhabited city? It is Babylon, not just the political one, but the religious one. So then the religion of Babylon, whichever it might be, or altogether themselves, shall be left desolate. Every religion. That's when the people say, we're going to study the Bible. The Bible's not studied anymore. It's another book of history, but the Bible with the new kingdom of the Messiah, it's incompatible. Nothing of what the Bible says, except for that it was the guide of the Messiah, is worth to do even make one law. Nothing. It'll be no good to read the prophets, because the Messiah, in his super intelligence, and also in what he'll search out by resurrecting people, he'll write a new book of history. The Bible is a book of history. How God created the world. He'll talk with Adam and Eve. He's not going to have to Moses write 2,000 years later. The very Messiah will resurrect Adam and Eve and tell them if they existed, hey, what happened here? How was this? Tell me all this exactly. Or maybe just by seeing, he understands everything. So then it won't be dependent on reading, oh, Genesis 1:1 says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was left desolate. And the fucking bitch that bore you. It'll be entirely. The Bible is no longer, not just the temple, the Bible, the religion, your belief, your Messiah, your God, your Holy Spirit is no longer, it is no good. Beaten asunder in the kingdom of the Messiah, the truth will be known. And the Bible is not the truth. The Bible was just a guide for the Messiah. When the Messiah gets to his maturity and when he takes power, he no longer needs the Bible. He will make true history books with live characters and with, how do you say, live and wiggling, so that you can, hey, can you tell me, was it really like that the way it's written in the book? And it's like, yeah, it's just like that because I'm describing it to you. That's the way it was. That's the way it was. Wow. And you can ask all the rest of the people every moment of history how it was. In reality, they'll say, hey, were those on the before the flood, were they so evil? No, I didn't know anything. And all of a sudden the water came and we all died. They're going to know the history being told by every person. So then the Messiah will make a book, a library that's incredible with the living characters to go and ask him if it was so or not. Just imagine that history. If you can imagine a little bit, and just free your imagination, all the characters that the Bible tells us that existed, if they existed, are there. And if they didn't exist, we rise up those that did exist, and for them to tell us the story, and we write it in a book, and we tell them, do you have enough to go and ask them? How will you ever believe in the Bible again? Do you understand what I'm saying? It'll be a book that's more than stupid. That is what the text says. That is what the text says. The altar, the foundation of your religion, whatever it might be, it'll be brought asunder. The same message as that of the Messiah telling Nicodemus. Nicodemus, you're a religious person. You have to be born again. Nicodemus, it is no good. Nothing of what you've ever studied. Nothing of what you believe in. Nothing. You have to listen to the Messiah. What is he telling them? Your Torah and all the rest of it is no good. Tell me what group, religious group, or what person, sometime, has ever spoken that way? We are those crazies. Do you know it, my friends? We are crazy, for we think that there is an eternal justice which is called to rule the world. Suck at the liberty's breast, you will always carry it within the heart. They may corrupt you, you may even forget, but she is always there. The destiny is written. The end is inevitable. Semper Fi. God is Argentinian. Hallelujah to every one of you. We shall meet again if the invader, people that invaded have not taken our lands. If the invasion doesn't become greater, we'll meet next Shabbat. Hallelujah to every one of you. Let the laurels be eternal, that we knew how to achieve. Crowned with glory, let us live. Or we swear with glory to die. Hallelujah. Long live LVE. Long live every one of you.